Hey guys, we often make our lives more complicated than they need to be. And a lot of the times, if you drill it down, the root comes from not telling the truth in one form or another. And I'm going to talk about the 5 truths. And that's 1, telling the truth to yourself about yourself. 2, telling the truth about yourself to another. 3, telling the truth to yourself about another. 4, telling the truth to another about that other. And that's a tricky one, a fearful one maybe. And 5, telling the telling the truth to everyone about everything. That's even, wow, that's a challenge. So the word surrender comes to mind. Making your life more difficult than it needs to be by resisting what is. Now, what does that mean, surrender? You may have come across that word in meditation, yoga, Eastern philosophies, surrender. What it means to me is to let go. And when I say that word in my head, naturally my posture opens up, I breathe easier, and I relax to what is. I tune myself into this present moment, and that chatter in my mind becomes quieter. So we create a lot of resistance to what is, and when we surrender and we let go, then we begin to be able to work with the situation. We begin to find ways of working with it, and we can align ourselves with a course of action, either a course of action, or we align ourselves with a perspective that is going to actually take us to the outcome that we want to achieve. We're going to have access to our spontaneity, our creativity, and our genius, I guess you could say it. And genius has been shown to be an innate quality, not a genetic. It's not hereditary, it's something innate in us. And that topic would take us into how you can turn genes on and off. Bruce Lipton, if you look for his book, The Biology of Belief, his studies have shown that genes can be switched on and off, and you have the genius gene that you can switch on and off. All comes down to perception. Anyway, going off on one a little bit. So surrender, back to surrender. And you know, some of those truths may be a bit fearful, and we have to, well, what I do in my life is I aim to go through and not around. When you try to go around it and you make excuses for yourself or other people, it can create problems further down the line. So if something's happened, you may be called upon to speak your truth, to say to those around you, this is what's going on for me. Now you can do that from a place of utter respect for the other people involved. You're coming from a place of, with all the respect in the world, this is what's true for me, and others have to respect that. They may not respect it, but you know, we're moving into living in a world where everybody has the space to work with what they're working with right now. And we're all working with stuff, limited beliefs, attitudes we don't approve of, values that we're not living up to. We're all going through stuff, and we're moving in, well, I believe we're moving into a society that allows it. It includes and it doesn't exclude. It allows, it collaborates rather than competes with others, and it doesn't exclude people. So you may be called on to speak your truth. You'll feel vulnerable if you're not used to doing that. You may feel vulnerable and fearful, but once you step into that power, you start speaking your truth, it becomes a habit. And you may notice I do this a lot because this chakra or seal here is supposedly where that energy emanates from. We have 7 energy bodies, 7 levels of reality and chakras. If that doesn't work for you, you may not be familiar with that way of talking, but it really works for me right now, because when I feel low, I tend to feel it down here in my gut. It's kind of like a sinking feeling. When I'm feeling good, I feel it here, my posture is open, I'm more thoughtful, I have more ability to be to have empathy for others and really connect with people when I look them in the eye and I think, what is this person going through right now? And that can help a lot. See, other ways we create problems is having the onus solely on us and what's going on for us, and we forget that other people are going through stuff as well. And when you remember that, you remember, hey, life goes on, everyone's going through stuff and it's not all about me. How can I help? How can I lighten the load for that other person? That creates a whole new energy, creativity, expression. So those are just some of my thoughts on that. Surrender you can use in pain, when you feel a physical pain. I've used this when I had athlete's foot. If you've ever had athlete's foot, you'll know that it's a real burning, intense desire to itch your feet. I remembered this concept of surrender, and I lied there in bed. It was like 2 in the morning, I couldn't sleep, and I thought, no, I'm going to go into this. And I felt the burning, fiery itchiness, and I just sat with it, and I went into it and felt all the sensations of it, and rather than trying to resist it and complaining about it and saying, oh, why has this happened to me, and I don't need this right now, and I need to get to sleep, rather than doing that, I went into it, and it slowly started to go away, and I found peace within it, and drifted off to sleep. You can try this when you have a headache. Rather than resisting it, let go, surrender, go into the pain, breathe. You can try tapping on it, the faster EFT. So if someone's chopped your hand off, doing faster EFT is not going to grow a new hand. But what you can do is you can tap on the feelings you have around the pain. When you heal the feelings and emotions you have about the pain, you'll find it will take the edge off the pain a little bit. And again, as I say, you'll find a way to work with the situation. Now notice how when I say those words, I'm quite expressive when I do these videos with my hands and my body. You'll notice how work with it naturally in my body. This is physiology, and that's like if you imagine being tied up and you want to kind of worm your way out of the situation, and you can use your physiology to change your mood. I use my posture a lot, and when I go out walking, I make sure I hold my body high. I don't slouch, and if I'm working at a desk, I remind myself not to slouch. The energy is going to flow through your body. Keep yourself hydrated. I'm in the bathroom today, just thought I'd switch it around a little bit. So I hope you got something out of that. Begin telling the truth a little bit. It can be a little bit scary, but watch what happens. All hell might break loose. Usually when you do this, it leads to chaos, but on the other side of the chaos, you'll find it's so liberating to speak your truth, to be yourself, and to your real self-honesty, and not bullshitting to yourself. And if you do bullshit to yourself, noticing that that's what you're doing, and just being okay with yourself and just loving yourself that bit more will all have a knock-on effect on your self-esteem. Some people may fall out with you for speaking your truth, but to be honest, that's their problem. And I don't say that in a way of, oh, it's your problem. I mean, that's their stuff that they're going through, and you allow them the space to go through their stuff, and you know who you are, you know what your life is about, and you know your truth, and you can speak your truth to others, regardless of how it lands. It may land very badly, but you know that we can't control. So I hope you got something out of that, guys. Peace. Thanks for watching. Catch us on the next video. Okay, actually it's important for me to add, because I've just watched the footage. When I say speak your truth, there's going to be tact involved. So you're going to need to be tactful, because the other side of that scale of speaking your truth is you don't want to become brash or obnoxious, you know. When I say speak your truth, I mean times where you know you perhaps need to speak up for yourself, or something that really needs to be said for the benefit of you and everybody else. That's what I mean. I don't mean just speaking your mind whenever, wherever. That's not what speaking your truth is. Wisdom is knowing when to open your mouth and when to keep it closed. I guess you could put it that way.